In this video, I'm going to introduce you to some terminology that we use when we're talking about interest groups. So again, once again, some of you may be familiar with this term, some of you may not, but it's really important that everybody become familiar with these terms because when we talk about interest groups, this word, you can see it italicized, lobby, is very important. It gets used frequently, so it's important for us to know these terms. As I said in the last video, what interest groups are trying to do is shape policy, public policy. And they do this by trying to persuade policymakers to do things that are going to be favorable to their group. The word lobby in this context means to attempt to persuade. And so interest groups try and lobby policymakers. That's the kind of terminology we use when we're talking about policymakers, what interest groups do. And then the people who lobby are called lobbyists. Lobbyists, right? So that's just lobby with ISTS at the end, right? So that's it. We're going to be you'll hear me use the phrase lobby, lobbyist quite frequently in this lecture video. And then maybe when we talk about Congress, I'll say it as well. And so I just want everyone to know what that term means because it's not necessarily common knowledge. So who do lobbyists attempt to influence? Who are they trying to get to see things the way their interest group sees it? Do you think that they lobby elected officials, people who've been elected to office? Hopefully you said yes, because they absolutely do. They definitely try and lobby elected officials. What about people who are appointed to their positions? These aren't the people we vote for, but the people who get appointed to their positions. Do you think they try and lobby them? Well, hopefully you said yes about that because they try and lobby appointed officials as well. Do you think they lobby at the federal level? Yeah. The state level? Yeah. At the local level? Yeah, all of them. Lobbyists are everywhere. At almost every level of government, you're going to find lobbyists there doing what they do, trying to persuade policymakers, whether they're elected or whether they're appointed at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level, to adopt policies that are going to be favorable to their interest group. So now that you're familiar with the terminology, I want to make a distinction between public interest groups and private interest groups. In this video, I'll probably only get through public interest groups, and in the next video, I'll pick up private interest groups. So now that you know what the word lobby means, public interest groups are interest groups that lobby in favor of policies that provide collective goods. As you may recall, when I was talking about the learning objectives, I said that these are also sometimes called public goods as well. So what do I mean by a collective good? A collective good is a benefit, is something that benefits everyone, not just members of the interest group. So as always, what I try and do is provide you an example of what I mean by a collective good. So here's what I want you to imagine. Let's say you and I and somebody else in the class, we live in the Santa Clarita Valley. And we're really interested in the air quality in the Santa Clarita Valley. So we decide that we're going to go down to the city council because we're members of the Sierra Club, an interest group, and we're going to try and lobby the city council to adopt policies that are going to essentially clean up the air in Santa Clarita. Now, the thing is, if we're successful in our lobbying efforts, if we're able to persuade the policymakers on the city council to adopt policies that actually improve the quality of the air, it's not like we're the only ones who get to breathe that air. It's not like just members of our group get to breathe the clean air. Everybody gets to enjoy the clean air. It's a collective good. It benefits everyone. It's not like everyone people who aren't in our interest group have to walk behind buses or something and breathe in all that smoke. Everybody gets to enjoy the benefit. So if we're successful in getting the city council to adopt policies that our organization wants to have adopted, everybody, whether they're in the group or not in the group, is going to enjoy that benefit. That's a collective good. And by the way, that includes people who object to us. Maybe they think, these policies that you're asking them to adopt are going to create more regulation. It's going to make business more costly. It's going to raise prices, right? They may actually object to it. But if we succeed, they're still going to get to breathe the cleaner air, which leads to what we call the free rider problem. So what do I mean by that? So let's imagine that there's somebody else in the class who totally agrees with us. They think they're a member of the Sierra Club as well. They also believe that the city council should be adopting policies that provide cleaner air. And we're going to go down there. We knock on their door and say, hey, come on, man, we're going to go down to city council. We're going to try and lobby city council. And they're like, oh, man, today isn't a good day. I planned on watching a Family Guy marathon all day long. And, they're in their pajamas. They got their Family Guy pajamas on. They've got popcorn made. It's like 8 in the morning, but they got popcorn made. It's like, oh, this dude's serious. And so they stay home. We try and get them to come. They stay home. Once again, if we're successful, that person who stayed home and watched the Family Guy marathon is going to enjoy the benefit of the clean air. They're going to get to ride for free. They're going to get to enjoy the benefit even though they've expended no energy whatsoever trying to get that collective good. And so oftentimes what happens with public interest groups, because people know that if the public interest group is successful, they're going to enjoy, that wasn't an earthquake, they're going to enjoy the benefit that's going to come from our efforts. They tend to just sort of not put in the effort, ride along for free, and that's a challenge that public interest groups face all the time. Now, one of the things that I'm going to talk to you about is that private interest groups, which I'll talk about in the next video, actually have a similar problem, a free rider problem. And I don't know if your textbook talks about it, but I'm going to talk about it because I'm one of those free riders, okay? And I'll explain what I mean in the next video.